Ladies and gentlemen, I'm GC Smith and welcome to another Warhammer 40k 6th edition video. 6th edition. And today we're going to be covering shooting and some of the changes that have happened between 5th edition, which my book isn't necessary and it's evil and looks sickly compared to the full colour awesomeness of this book. We're going to look at the difference between the two editions in shooting. Now, like movement phase, I could go to the main bulk of the rulebook, that stuff there, or I could understand the majority of the rules are actually similar between the two editions, so I can look at the shooting phase summaries in here. In shooting phase summaries, which are at the back of the book at page 426 for everyone that has it and wants to find it and read along with me today in this video, or just wants to read it personally, read it right now. So the shooting is very much the same. There are the same weapon types: pistol, which is effectively just an assault weapon, but short range and can be used in close combat as a close combat weapon. You have assault, which are weapons that can fire all their shots at their range, no matter how far you move, no matter if you move or not, and you can assault after you fire it. You have rapid fire weapons and you have heavy weapons. Now, rapid fire weapons and heavy weapons are the two biggest changes, or two of the bigger changes of shooting in 6th edition compared to 5th edition. Now, there is a 5th weapon type. No, not 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th weapon type, sorry. Or because you've got ordnance as well, that hasn't changed. Well, it has kind of changed slightly, I guess. And you've got salvo. Now, salvo is a weapon type which no weapon in the game currently has, unless it's been FAQ'd to have it, I guess, but it's not in the rules. That basically, when you move, you can only fire at half range if you move, and you fire with the lesser number of shots. So say salvo had two numbers, I guess you'll see 2 and a 5, I guess, or 5 and 2. So 2 and a 5, right? So it's a 2/5, and if you move, you can only go fire at half range and fire 2 shots. If you stay still, you can fire up to max range and fire 5 shots. That's how a salvo will work, and that's actually quite a big change, and it'll be interesting to see what weapons get that. That's like, say, the old rapid fire kind of thing, I guess, similar to the old rapid fire, but opposite kind of, I guess. Now, heavy, as previously, can't really move and shoot. There is a way for them to shoot when the unit's moving now, but otherwise it's a standstill and shoot weapon. Now, if you move, a heavy weapon can still fire using a rule called snapshot, which basically means your ballistic skill 1, so you need 6s to hit. That generally represents, imagine if you're playing COD, you're running around a corner of a rocket launcher, see a guy, you just pull it up and fire. Unlike COD, however, you're not as accurate when you do that, and you can't just like scope just a minute second and then kill them with it. No, it is very unlikely to hit, but there is still a chance to hit. That's with all heavy weapons, you can do that, and ordnance can actually do that based on certain things. If you're moving, normally, can't fire. If you've got slow and purposeful, you can still fire ordnance. I don't know if you can snapshot. No, snapshot's not available to ordnance, sorry. So you got that. Now, rapid fire's changed in a way, because previously in 5th edition, it was stand still, shoot at full range, and you get your 1 shot. If you moved, you can only fire 12 inches, no matter what your full range was, you can only fire 12 inches, and you can fire 2 shots, and you fire 2 shots, and you couldn't assault if you shot a rapid fire weapon. Now it's changed. It's 1 shot at full range, whether you move or stay still, and 2 shots at half range, whether you stay still or not. And you can't charge if you fire your rapid fire weapon. So what does that mean? Well, it means a lot of armies, certain weapons got buffed. For instance, sorry, getting close to the camera, Tau Fire Warriors with pulse rifles now have gone from only firing 12 inches when they move, to being able to fire 30 inches when they move, and they can fire 2 shots at 15 rather than 12. There's an extra 3 inches in the rapid fire range, which 3 inches in this edition, with random charge ranges and pre-measuring everything, makes a heck of a lot of a difference. Bigger change, however, for the Tau especially, is a thing called Crutox, which not many people will know have experienced, because not many Tau players take them with Crut. Because if you took them, Crut couldn't infiltrate, and, well, there's not really much point taking them. Previously, there were 35 points of 1 shot. You kind of have to stand still and fire it, and then you got a rapid fire at 12 inches. What was the point? It was a 48-inch rapid-fire weapon, the longest rapid-fire weapon I think in the game, and now fires 24-inch rapid-fire. It's amazing. It is gone from 35 points of pure sucking to 35 points of actually rather good on the average range of a board. It's only toughness 3 with 3 wounds, but you put it at the back of the unit, it won't get wounds allocated it due to something that we'll cover in a minute. Now, another thing that's changed from shooting is, like run happens in the shooting phase for infantry, all additional movement like that for every unit happens in the shooting phase. As I covered in the movement phase, I will cover it again here. You do move extra in the shooting phase. So infantry, like the fire warrior, roll dice 1d6 for running. In fact, I can get the chart. They get to run infantry, artillery, jump units, jetpack units, and monstrous creatures, beasts and cavalry can choose to not shoot and instead get to run 1d6. Then flying monstrous creatures who are swooping will run with 2d6. Otherwise, if they're normally, they count as jump infantry effectively if they're just walking. Walkers run 1d6. Bikes, jet bikes, and elder jet bikes all turbo boost. However, in the shooting phase, normal bikes get to turbo boost an additional 12 inches, which means they go 24 inches in total. 12 inches in their movement, 12 inches in the shooting phase. Jet bikes, normal jet bikes, so that's basically Necron bikers, Necron jet bikers, go 24 inches turbo boost. They can go 12 inches in the movement phase, turbo boost 24 inches. Elder jet bikes can turbo boost 36 inches, so they get 12-inch move, 36-inch turbo boost. And again, this gives up all their shooting. Then you have heavy vehicles, which can't do anything, extra movement in the shooting phase, and that pretty much only the monolith at the moment, though there is room for other vehicles to get it. Fast vehicles can go flat out, and they go 12 inches. A fast skimmer can go flat out and get an extra 18 inches. A flyer in zoom mode only, otherwise it counts as a skimmer if it's in the other mode. A flyer can go an additional 24, however, a minimum if you turbo boost or go flat out is 12 inches for a flyer. And then every other vehicle can go flat out and gain an additional 6 inches. So on the whole, if you give up your shooting, vehicles are a heck of a lot faster in this edition. Sorry about that. Now, obviously, there is also, so keeping on the theme of vehicles, you've got the ability of vehicles to shoot. Basically, every vehicle, if it remains stationary, and can fire all their weapons. Although flyers in zoom mode can't be stationary, otherwise they crash, which is kind of silly. That they can fire all weapons when stationary. Walkers, again, moving at combat speed, which is 6 inches. And fast vehicles, again at 6 inches, and heavy vehicles at 6 inches, at combat speed, which is 6 inches, can fire all of their weapons. Flyers, their combat speed, which is, I think, 18, and up to, 18, and I think up to like 24 or something, or, around there, is 4 weapons, and all other vehicles can fire 1 weapon at their full ballistic skill. This is all at their full ballistic skill, because you've got snapshot applies to vehicles. Then cruising speed, walkers can't go at cruising speed because that's over 6 inches. Fast vehicles can fire 2 weapons at full ballistic skill. And then every other weapon they've got, snapshots. Heavies can't do cruising speed. Flyers, 4 weapons at max ballistic skill at cruising speed, which is 36 inches. And then the rest are snapshot. And all other vehicles can't fire any weapons at cruising speed at full ballistic skill, but they can still snapshot. The only exceptions to this are blast weapons that cannot be blast shot. So things like the plasma cannons and stuff on Lehman Russes or ordnance weapons cannot snapshot. None of those can snapshot. So there is a kind of issue there for Imperial Guardsmen on that basis. Now, going on to transport vehicles, again staying in the theme of vehicles. If a transport vehicle is stationary, there is no effect on the crew, the people being transported. They can fire their full ballistic skill out of it based on the firing points, open topped, all that kind of stuff. Vehicle moving its combat speed, again up to 6 inches normally. The people inside count as having moved, therefore things like rapid fire and assault weapons can fire normally. Heavy weapons, snapshot only. Cruising speed, which is over 6 inches, which is basically 6 to 12, you can fire now. You couldn't fire in the previous edition, but it is only snapshots, so only BS1, and again, can't fire blast weapons on that basis. Flat out, cannot shoot at all. If the vehicle is shaken, you can only make snapshots, and if the vehicle is stunned, you cannot shoot out of it at all. So that's for vehicles as a whole. One more thing about vehicles actually is they now can overheat in this edition, and if you overheat, which is like roll a 1 to hit, or with a plasma cannon roll a dice on roll a 1, it overheats on anything else, it just fires as normal. If you overheat, your vehicle suffers an instant glancing hit, which means you lose a hull point, which can be deadly for vehicles. And there are vehicles that have things like the plasma weaponry, effectively. There may be other weapons that have gained overheats in this rule. So you have to go through the weapons, find out all your weapons in your army, and make sure they haven't gained overheat or gets hot. Which makes me glad to be a Tau player, since none of my Tau plasma rifles overheat, because they're only strength 6, not strength 7. So that's that for those kind of shooting. Is there anything else I need to cover? Other than, flyers. They're a big thing. As I say, I've shown how they can fly and they fight. Shooting at flyers. If a flyer is in zoom mode, so like proper flight mode, you need 6s to hit them. Oh no, sorry, you fire at ballistic skill 1. You count as firing at ballistic skill 1 against them, because they're so hard to hit. Effectively, you can only make snapshots at them, which means template weapons can't hit them. Template weapons can't, templates and blast cannot hit flyers, which makes sense to a degree. Obviously, if you have something called Skyfire, which is what anti-aircraft stuff. Skyfire is anti-aircraft rule. You fire at your normal ballistic skill, full ballistic skill against them. Unfortunately, if a thing has Skyfire but not intercept, it cannot. It can only snap fire at things on the ground. So if you say have the Hydra, the Imperial Guard Hydra, which people use to decimate skimmers and flyers, they still decimate skimmers and flyers because the skimmers can be hit by the AA stuff. The snapfire doesn't get affected by the snapfire only, but they don't have interceptor. They have gained Skyfire but not interceptor, so it means to shoot things on the ground you can only snapfire. So a full infantry army will not really suffer against those kind of vehicles. Another big thing in the shooting phase, as it is in the assault phase now, and big for vehicles actually now, is hull points. Every vehicle has a certain amount of hull points, which you do need to check in the glossary, at the back of the book, and the reference for that starts at page 410 in the rulebook. I'll show you now. Page 410, if you can see it properly. And you therefore see all the hull points for all your vehicles. Now, future codex updates will include, I guess, the hull points in the stat line, but for now, only in the rulebook, you have to check. Basically, hull points, you lose a hull point if you get a glancing hit on the vehicle. Or if you lose all your hull points, the vehicle gets wrecked. And you don't roll on a damage chart if you glance, you just lose a hull point if you glance. If you penetrate, the enemy lose a hull point, as well as roll on the vehicle damage chart, which I will just find again. What's the vehicle damage chart? There's a lot for vehicles actually. And a vehicle damage chart. Here it is. On level 1 to 2, the crew is shaken. The vehicle can only snapfire and snapfire shots until the end of the next turn. Crew stunned is a 3. The vehicle can only snapfire shots until the end of the next turn and cannot move unless it is a zooming flyer, in which case it can only move 18 inches and cannot turn. On a 4, it's weapon destroyed. One of the vehicle's weapons, randomly chosen, is destroyed. So you can't choose which weapon you destroy anymore. If the vehicle has no weapons left, treat this as an immobilized result instead. On a 5, immobilized. The vehicle cannot move for the rest of the game. It may not turn either, but its current its turret can continue to rotate to face to select targets. A flyer in zoom mode instead suffers locked velocity, in which case, depending on whether you're going at combat speed or cruising speed, that is the speed you can only move at the rest for the game. So if you were moved in the previous turn at cruising speed, you can only go at cruising speed. It's to stop them just instantly crashing to the ground and dying. A vehicle that is already immobilised or suffering from locked velocity instead loses an additional hull point. But that's if you're... That means you have to suffer 2 penetrating hits and hope you have 3 hull points, at least. Otherwise you'd have died anyway. On a 6+, because you can get bonuses now, more bonuses to it, the vehicle is destroyed on a roll of d6. Units take a number of strength 3 AP dash hits equal to the number of models from the unit in that d6 range. Now, bonuses to that. There are bonuses in the sense of you don't lose any. There is no -1 now if you have no AP. You get +1 for open top still. You get +1 for AP2 and +2 for AP1. So a melter gun only needs to roll a 4 to wreck your vehicle now, and if it's open top, only needs to roll a 3. But so what does this mean? This shooting thing for vehicles, hull points especially, do for the game? They make Necrons evil. Simple as. They make Necrons one of the most evil shooting armies for mechs to face. They can all glance. Oh, on a roll of 6 glance. Oh, I glance. 4 glances against your Land Raider from 20 rapid firing warriors that are twin linked. Or 10 rapid firing warriors that are twin linked. So 20 shots, yeah, I just blew up your Land Raider in a single shot shooting turn from what? 200 points maybe of warriors, if that. They're mean. They're just incredibly sick, incredibly evil, and yes, makes vehicles more vulnerable. Sorry, not less vulnerable, more vulnerable. And makes infantry more of a king than vehicles were. So it kind of shifts the power back towards infantry, back towards where 3rd edition was. Although people still use vehicles, but they're not anywhere near as good as they used to be in survivability terms. The most hull points you can get is 4, incidentally, so that's something to consider. Now, what else is there for shooting? Just trying to think. What else is there for shooting? Well, I want to check before I go on to this next one. I know one thing I want to go on to. Other than rolls to hit. No. I guess then we will go on to a thing called Psychic Powers with my Psychic deck. And basically, Psychic deck, not sure it off, but it does come with a Psychic discipline. Basically, Psychic Powers have changed dramatically. You keep all the Psychic Powers in your codex, but every army that has Psychers now has access to certain laws. No, not every army has Psychers, sorry. The following armies that have Psychers, which armies have Psychers and do not have access to this? Orcs don't, and they have Psychers. Has anyone else got Psychers and not allowed? No. Basically, everyone that has Psychers, apart from Orc, have access to these Psychic power cards. And you can get allies for Psychers for armies that have no Psychers and stuff anyway. So, apart from Tyranids, but they get access to that, so it doesn't really matter. And there are 4 laws. You may have more. You have Biomancy, which is all editing the body, in which things like Smite, Smite. You've got an ability called Hemorrhage, which is nasty. Warp Speed, Leech Life, Endurance, Enfeeble, and Iron Arm. They're all about making you better and making the enemy boil and do stuff with their body. You have Telekinesis, which is all about like things like where the Vortex of Doom is in. And you have Pyromancy, which is all about making things explode. You have Molten Beam, you have things like Sunburst, Spontaneous Combustion, Inferno, Fire Shield, which is a defensive thing, Fiery Form, which is a defensive thing, Flame Breath, which some of these have like soulfire special rules. I will cover special rules in another video because they're not all directly related to shooting, and not all weapons have them, and it will take far too long to cover all the special rules. Oop, these are upside down. Then you have divination, which have precognition, scryer's gaze. These are all about seeing the future, basically divination. Then you have telepathy, which is all about making people go insane. It's all about making your unit go invisible. It's like, you know, terrify, puppet master, mental fortitude, dominate, psychic shriek. Now, basically, it's imagine magic from fantasy. If any of you play fantasy, and if you've not, well, this probably won't be too apt. Basically, certain psychers, not every psyker in every army, but certain psychers from armies with psychers can exchange psychic powers for this rulebook, and they get one psychic power for each psychic power they kind of had before, or mastery level they had before. Then, what you do is you can go say Eldar. Give an example, an Eldar Farseer can buy 4 powers. He can then trade his 4 powers for 4 powers from one of the laws available to them, according to the rulebook. On page no, is it 427? No, it's not 427 there. Just summary for it, because there is a summary section. I think there's a summary for psychic powers for them. Where is it? Is there a game summary for psychic powers? No, the psychic powers are just before the game summary anyway. Page 418, where it talks about psychic disciplines. So, number of psychic powers is how many. You can trade as many psychic powers as he has for psychic disciplines. If it doesn't say that in the codex how many psychic powers he has, then psychic powers are the level of his mastery level, which is relevant to psychers. And basically, you roll a dice for each psychic power or mastery level you've got, and say you get, for the law, get a 3 and a 5, say. You then get the spells, psychic powers 3 and 5 from that. Now, you can swap one of them to what they call the signature spell, the Primaris power, which is the signature power of that thing. So you can just swap it to that, and these powers are really, Primaris powers are really, really nice. So how do you cast psychic powers? Well, psychic powers, as you'll see there, hopefully, says warp charge. You generate 1 warp charge for every mastery level you have in each turn, and then that is how many. So if it's got warp charge 1, it costs 1 warp charge to use psychic power. So obviously, if you're mastery level 1, which a lot of psychers are, then you can only use one of those. Those are level abilities. If you have a psychic power at mastery level 2, then you can cast, say, 2 of the 1s and 1, 2, or just 1, 2. Depending on thing, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how psychic powers work, and they're a major change to 6th edition. And some of these are insanely powerful. A lot of low-level psychers, mastery level 1, will probably be forced to take the Primaris power, because they might roll one that has mastery level 2 requirement to even cast, and they can't cast it because they only generate 1 thing. Buffs, they've changed the psychic defense of psychic hoods. I'm not really too sure on that myself, having not really checked, because I don't have psychers in my army. I've never really needed that. But one thing, every unit does get something like Iron Will. Oh, no, Iron Will's for sure that boosts it, but everyone gets like a suffer not the witch to live kind of thing, where you roll a dice on a 6, you resist the psychic powers. Like try and resist psychic powers to stop them just being over the top. But you cannot resist buffs being targeted on an enemy unit. Like if I buff my unit, you can't try and resist it. The only things that stop me doing that now, like psychic hoods don't interfere with that. The only things that interfere with that are things like Shadowing the Warp and Eldar Seer Runes or Seer Bones or whatever they're called. So those still affect it. Now, I just want to get, there are a lot of shooting weapons. I will quickly find the section in the rulebook on all the shooting weapons. I probably should have, before filming this, found it, but oh well. Vehicle upgrades, there's some standard upgrades, yeah, which just lists Imperial ones, which is hilarious. No. New ranged weapons of the 41st millennium. You have, okay, not necessarily. You have that, which are all technically Imperial. 2 double page spread, starting on page 56. However, when talking about ranged weapons, assault grenades can now be used. Assault grenades and things like assault grenades, crack grenades, haywire grenades, and not metal bombs can be thrown. Basically, standard assault grenades, plasma grenades, haywire grenades, and crack grenades can be thrown in the shooting phase, and they throw a template. One model can forfeit his shooting to throw a grenade, and it fires a template. So it scatters, and you can't use it against flyers or flying monstrous creatures. That is pretty much everything actually I want to try and cover for shooting at the moment. Yes. Pretty much. There is an option for missile launchers to get a thing called missile launchers to get a flak missile, which is strength 7, AP 4, heavy 1 Skyfire. But I don't know how you get it. Haven't seen how you get it. So yes, but there are a lot more in this edition. There are a ton more of these, just to say. So I will just say that now. And these are actually nice templates, by the way. But no, that's pretty much what I want to cover for shooting. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video for now. Well, that's all I want to cover for the theory of shooting, sorry. I will do a quick demonstration of shooting in a second. Or it'll cut to me doing a demonstration of shooting, sorry, by the way. And then that will be how I end the video with that, because I just want to give you a quick thing of shooting. So I'll just make a quick cut, and you will see me go to shooting with an example unit scenario. So here we are in the example scenario. We have 2 Terminators, for purposes generic Terminators, versus 4 generic Fireboys with pulse rifles and a gun drone in his unit. So, using pre-measure, we can see that the unit is 8 inches away from the tower is 8 inches away from the Space Marines. So in this scenario, the Space Marines have finished their movement and have come to their shooting phase. So what they can do is choose to run and get a 4, which means they could run 4 inches, get 4 inches closer to the tower for next turn. Or they could choose to shoot. So they've got 2 Stormbolters. That's a cocked dice because it's not flat. So we get a hit, a hit, a hit, a hit. Because they're BS4, being 3s to hit. However, they do not get any wounds. So let's just say they get 2 wounds instead. For the purposes of this scenario, we're going to say they got 2 wounds. So the Tau Fire Warriors make saves of 4. Well, you say, you allocate wounds to the closest model in shooting now. So it's these guys, the closest model to the unit, which is the gun drone, as you can see, will take the saves until it fails one. So you have to roll 1 dice, then another, to see if it dies before you do anything else. So first save, it has a 4+ save. Gets a 3, it dies. So now you pass on the thing to the next closest model, which will be one of the fireworks, probably that red one at the end. And he fails his 4+ save as well, so he is removed. Now I'm going to say for the purpose of this, we're going to ignore morale for now, because it just makes this scenario a bit more complicated than we need to. So Tau turn, and they know they're 8 inches away from the Space Marines. So, we can pre-measure because the gun drone's gone. So we can see how far, when I move my camera. So we can see that the Tau are roughly 10 inches away from the Terminators. So the Tau want to stay in rapid fire range, as well as maintain they get out of the 12-inch range so the Terminators can't charge them. So they can move 13 inches, or better yet, move 3 inches to be 13 inches away. Better yet, move 5 inches. So we're going to put that there, move them 5 inches back, and they're still within the 15-inch range they need to be in of the Terminators. So what they're going to do is fire 2 shots each, which is 6 shots, needing force to hit because they're Tau. For some reason, they can't hit as well as an Imperial Guardsman or veteran, even though these guys are pretty much veterans themselves anyway. Sorry for the shaking of the camera, because I'm shaking dice. So then they need 3s to wound, because they're strength 5, toughness 4. We get 2 wounds, and no Terminator snuffs it. But the Terminators are going to stay out of assault range for the next turn, because of how the Tau move. Rapid fire weapons, as an example of that, have clearly got better than they were, allowing the Tau, the Tau could have moved an extra inch back, maintaining distance away, but instead only rolling 3 dice to shoot, because they can still shoot up to 30 inches. Basically, it shows that units like the Tau, and armies like with rapid fire weapons, got a boost. Assault weapons are still better in the sense of, for assault armies, because you want to shoot assault weapons to get Terminators into combat, say, or you may have wanted to run them, knowing that the Tau could do that anyway, and you probably want to get them in combat because you'll mix them up in combat better than you'll mix them up in shooting. But overall, that kind of changes the dynamic of the shooting phase because of whether you choose to run, and it actually changes the movement phase as well, with how you move depending on that, especially with how you shoot the closest models. So things like Tau and whatever, they'll put their drones in front, and other armies will want to make sure their commander and special weapons aren't in front necessarily, which will make placing flamers very, very interesting. Now actually there is another example that I can show you in a case where 3 of the fire warriors, say there's 3 fire warriors and a drone, the 3 fire warriors are behind cover, and they can, or maybe they can be seen, but the Space Marine can choose to actually focus his fire on the gun drone, in which case he will shoot just the gun drone. So the 4 shots all hit. 1, 2 wounds, and the wounds can only go onto the gun drone because he's the only one they're shooting at. So he dies because he fails one of his saves. That's another quick rule. Probably should have gone over that maybe a bit more in depth. Basically, focus fire, you can aim at things that are out of the cover if only part the unit is partially in cover instead of fully in cover. But hopefully this video has helped you with some of your shooting, or helped you with some of the shooting problems you may have had between 5th edition and 6th edition. And hope you've enjoyed watching. I'm sorry if my voice is a bit monotone and doesn't really seem enthusiastic. I'm trying to be factual, and I don't want to get too excited and go off on tangents, and it's really hard to organise on how I say things in the right order, and sorry for that shake there. Next video will be assault phase, how I'll try and cover the assault phase slightly and all that has in it. I need to read over the assault phase myself a little bit more. But yes, we'll try and cover the assault phase next time. If you do like this video, do make sure to like the video in the likes bit. Do subscribe if you like my videos anyway, if you want to see more of them and want to see my upcoming videos. I will be doing an upcoming tactical on how 6th edition what's actually changed for the Tau, as well as for the Black Templars soon. Probably more focused on the Tau, since I actually think they got better in 6th edition, and I do think that Black Templars got worse. And on that end, if there's any questions you want me to answer when it comes to when I do those videos, do let me know in the comments below this video, or the assault phase video, or the movement phase video. If you haven't seen the movement phase video, do check to see that. And that, my discussion of the movement phase videos. Please put questions below in the comments of what kind of things you want me to answer for Tau and Black Templars when I come to them. Or my general opinions. I will, if you want to ask general questions for assault, not assault phase, but general questions for other armies, I will try and answer them if I can in a series of videos. Probably do one video for all the questions of different armies at once, if people ask me those questions and I can answer them. Do know though that some questions I try and answer will generally be my interpretation of the rules, and unless the FAQ, it's always possible the FAQ will change my interpretation of the rules to being incorrect, or it may be my interpretation is incorrect and I'm just reading it wrong, in which case please feel free in the comments to point any incorrect rules interpretations out to me if you're watching and notice a glaring mistake, because that's beneficial to not only me but everyone watching the video. Obviously when you do that, please quote page numbers or FAQ, where you got the source from, so people that are watching don't just think you're doing it to mess with their heads, but actually can go and find out for themselves. I can find out for myself and know that you're right. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and you will see me and I will be talking to you next time.